Hello, everyone. You're welcome to my channel. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending where you're watching me from. This is Word for Word Talk or Here's Word View, depending where you're watching it from. Today, I just wanted to give you some good news. Something positive is happening, in Niger, which is so amazing. I was glad to hear it. Why? Because you look at that continent or you look at that particular country or some of those countries and you think, what's going on? Why are things the way they are? They're not the poorest country in the world. They're the richest continent in the world with all the resources that they have. But yet they struggle. They just struggle. Poverty, just like what's happening? Because some of the leaders that has been there has been encouraged to remain there for 42 years, 40 years, 30-something years. Why? Because some country, like some of these Francophone, you call for Francophone countries, or the country that were colonized by France, most of the other countries, they're allowed to remain because some of the countries in the West or some other countries, they benefit from it. They benefit from the corrupt leaders or leaders they have placed there, and they have made the leader corrupt. The corruption is not just in one section. The corruption is from Africa and other countries that are also using them. They allowed them to remain there. Like some of the countries that were colonized by France, some of those countries, they allowed them to remain there for years and years and years. Why? Because France is benefiting from them being there. Because if they leave and somebody else come, that person will say, well, I'm not having this with you. I want to take care of my people just as you're taking care of your people. So they allow them to remain there. Say, well, we don't interfere with other people's election or whatever because it benefits them. If it doesn't, well, that is just say, no, we don't. They have a way to just not support that person to win, because they know that person could come up and say no. Anyway, let me just leave that aside for this moment. I'm going to do something on that and post it. With Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, all these countries that the military are taking over, they are supported by the people. And democracy says it's by the people, for the people. If the people want the military to rule because they don't trust the civilian no more, let it be. It's their country. It's their resources. Well, let's dig a little bit deeper with Niger. Niger sell their uranium 80 cents per kilo to France. Maybe other countries as well. But France is the most focused one right now. To France, 80 cents per kilo. Why Canada sell theirs for 200 euro per kilo? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the big difference? Africa don't need aid. They just need to have the same platform like any other country in the world, where they too can say, we are selling our cocoa just the same way Canada is selling theirs, or just the same way China is selling the same amount. Full stop. We're not negotiating it. That's how we want to sell. Not long ago, Ghana government decided they were not going to use their gold to pay their debt no more, because they realized the debt is not actually moving. The interest is still going. They're still owing so much, and they'll be paying with their gold for years. They say, no, we want a certificate. We want to sell our gold like anybody else in the market. So give us the certificate to sell. Then we will pay out that with the money we make from our gold. Wisdom, awesome. Because you're using their resources and you're not paying the right amount for that particular resources. This is why that continent is suffering. I won't say poor, they're suffering because they're being used. They've been exploited. They've been exploited. That is just in a so heartless way. I mean, they've been exploited. That's the word. Exploited left, right, and center. Whatever it is, gold, diamond, oil, cocoa, uranium, what is it? Oh God. It just, the list goes on. Oil, crude oil, just name it. They're not selling it just like any other country sell the amount they sell. So this is not the way it should be. They should be able to sell it the way they should sell it, like everyone else, and use that money to take care of their citizens. But because both sides are corrupt, you know, so France wants Mohammed there, the president that was there, the civilian president that they just removed. He wants him there because he'll do his bidding and make some money. But they're losing more than they're making for their own self and their families. You know, their self, their family, their friends, those who work with them, they think they are making money, but they have not come to realize that they're losing so much for themselves, for their children, for their grandchildren, for their great-great-grandchildren. Can you imagine paying 80 cents per kilo? So just imagine 50 years ago, while they were still buying from Niger 50 years ago, what the price was. 60 years ago, let's just say 30 years ago, you can imagine they were selling it, was it, you know, 10 cents or 20 cents or what? You sell it for 0.8, 80 cents. Who does that? Knowing that in the market it's being sold for 200 euro. A good president will say, no, I can work with you. Maybe you should pay us 150 because we've been together for a long time. I mean, we had this relationship, or you colonized them and whatever. I'll sell for you for 150 or 170 per kilo. Not 80 cents. I mean, how do you even accept such a deal? Knowing that that's exploitation. How do you even think in your heart? The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. If you don't have fear of God, you can do anything. How do you even say, yes, we will buy it under $1, under €1 per kilo, when you know in the marketplace, if you go to Canada or anywhere else, you'll be paying 200? I mean, let's think about it. How do you even conceive that? How do you even accept that and just sleep at night and say, wow, what a good deal? This is why they become so friendly with those presidents, you know, overhug themselves and over, you know, because they know they have to do that to them so that they can feel accepted and loved and part of the clique, part of the other countries, you know. So they sell out. They sell the I mean, their children's future. Look at Niger, the future of their children. It might not be their own immediate children, it might be their cousins and their far nephews, and I mean, you know, far distant relatives. They're suffering too. And you're just there as a president, as for what? So they took you out so that somebody else can come and make a change. My prayer and your prayer, please, for this military, as you're making these changes, that the money actually go to the people, not to their own pockets, but to the people that they're actually fighting for. That today, tomorrow, years to come, they won't say, well, it's not about them. No, it will be about the people. They can begin to make changes, have good hospitals, good schools for these people, good roads, hospitals, because these people, the hard labor, you know, of mining uranium, it's on these people. Some of them are children, can't go to school. because they can't afford it. They go work there. Can you imagine? So if they buy in the uranium 80 cents per kilo, can you imagine what they sell? I mean, how much they pay the workers? Can you imagine how much they pay the workers a day? How would it, so, and those breathing in those toxic, the effect of it, they don't have good hospitals to go to, or if they do have some kind of hospital there, they don't have the money to go to hospitals. Can you imagine how many people would have been hurt because of this stuff, or die because they couldn't get the treatment? Or only God can tell. Only God can tell. Oh. So you could just see how the poverty, why the poverty is there, and how it has been encouraged over and over again, year after year, president after president, or president has been there for how many years in some country like Congo. No, Gabon, excuse me, where they had the president there for how many years? 42. They give it to the son, and the son is also trying to groom his son to take over before what just happened recently there. So so they allowed them to stay because it benefits them. Why the majority suffers? They can have houses in France, they can have limousine, Lamborghini, Porsche, everything you can think of. Buy many houses, excuse me, pay taxes to France for their houses and their car. Everything still goes there. Just give them their independence. Let them live their life the way they want. If they mess up their country, it's their country. That's all I can say. Give them their full independence. Let them just be. And if they mess it up, it's on them. It's on them. Nobody's going to call you. Nobody's going to call France at all. You know, I like Macron, I like this high smart, and you know, when you look at him, it's, oh wow, this is, but for you not to even think about these people and say, well, our forefather has done it wrong, or the past president have not looked into this. I'm young enough to take the bull by the horn and change this. It should be done. Now, I'm not going to allow this. You know, we might not pay the 200, but we can negotiate with them. Maybe 160. You know, I don't like what I see here. And then but you could go there, they give you presidential treatment, you walk on red carpet, you do whatever, you go sign again. No. Anyway, let's go to the video and watch, and you can hear for yourself and see for yourself.
Niger, a significant player in the uranium sector, has taken a brave move to ensure just remunerations for its priceless natural resource, uranium. The cost of uranium in Niger has soared from about 80 cents per kilogram to 200 euros per kilogram. This represents a substantial change of roughly 24,900%. This increase demonstrates the resolve of African countries to end past inequalities and calls for fair compensation for their crucial contributions to the world economy. The global uranium market, Niger's economy, and international relations may all be impacted by this rise in uranium prices. We'll address these in a moment. Uranium is the most popular nuclear energy fuel. Uranium is used in nuclear weapons, naval propulsion, and cancer treatment, and the 7th largest producer of uranium in the world is Niger. After President Mohamed Bazoum was ousted during the military coup in Niger, uranium prices increased somewhat. The main purchaser of uranium from Niger has traditionally been France, which used its parasitic French policies to set a price of 80 cents per kilogram for the country's uranium, even though the global market price was far higher. For instance, Canada charges 200 euros per kilogram for its uranium. Before we continue, like this video and share it with your friends so that more people can know what is happening in Africa. Also, subscribe to the new tourist channel to stay up to date on recent happenings on the continent. Niger is raising its uranium prices to capitalize on rising demand and maintain fair market pricing. The former price of 80 cents per kilogram did not adequately account for the resource's full value because it was substantially lower than the global market price. Here's an idea of how little money Niger has received throughout the years for its valuable uranium. Niger exports uranium for $220 million per year to France. If it was at the market price of 200 euros per kilogram, instead of the France-imposed 80 cents, then that same quantity of uranium would be valued at $55 billion. This means that France steals over $54 billion from Niger every year. This should give you an understanding of why Macron and France do not want to leave Niger and other African countries. According to the World Bank, Niger receives about $2 billion per year in humanitarian aid, while Western countries sit and watch how France uses puppet leaders and dictators in Africa to plunder resources there. $54 billion are stolen per year from one commodity from one country in Africa, just by France alone. Remember that this same France holds 50% of Niger's currencies. If you want to know how, then watch the video we've added in the description below. Raising the price of uranium in Niger to comply with international norms was a wise commercial move. The country stands to gain significantly from this growth in financial terms, enabling the government to fund infrastructural and social development projects. Additionally, it guarantees that Niger receives a more equitable share of the profits from its uranium resources. Increased uranium prices will also help Niger diversify its economy away from uranium mining, which will lessen its reliance on a single source of income. This action supports the goal of long-term economic stability because it strengthens Niger's resilience to market fluctuations and broader economic changes by reducing the risks associated with relying too much on a particular resource. Niger's decision to align its uranium prices with global rates has international implications as well. It could have a ripple effect on the global uranium market, influencing pricing strategies and negotiations in other uranium-rich countries. Also, it will affect the ties between France and Niger. France, a significant consumer of uranium from Niger, may be concerned about the price increase, as France depends on Niger for 20% of its uranium needs. It does present opportunities for more equitable cooperation and has the capacity to have a favorable effect on the world uranium market. This daring step not only improves the economic prospects for Niger, but it also establishes a strong example for other resource-rich African nations to pursue more economic autonomy and long-term stability through fair resource pricing and varied economic strategy. Africa does not need humanitarian aid. Africa needs its sovereignty, dignity, and to be protected from Western corporations looting.
Here we go. You hear what he just said. 54 billion a year France takes from Niger. We're not talking about what they were taking in Mali, what they were taking in Burkina Faso, what they were taking in Guinea and all other countries in Africa that they colonized, and they're still, holding them ransom to follow the rules, but of France. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just Niger. That could give you an idea of how many billions France makes every year from Africa. Yeah? Why they live large and take care of their citizens, the African people. Those countries are suffering or struggling because of what? Oppression. They don't need aid from World Bank. World Bank knows that. People say it, but just let it just carry on well. Everybody wants to share of that continent without caring for them. You don't care. You say, I love these people. You don't. If you care for them, you care for them just like you care for yours. Anyway, yes, like you care for yours. How do you give somebody 2 billion a year for humanitarian aids when they could have 54 billion? Which of them will you choose? If you were in their shoes, what will you choose? Somebody giving you 2 billion, say, I'm just helping you here. Here's a handout for you and your citizens. And we're going to take from you indirectly 52 billion. What will you choose? 52 billion. Because they can take care of their people, they can do whatever they want to do. So these 2 billion come to the country, the corrupt, the leaders to take part of that 2 billion. They don't actually get to the poor, the fatherless, the widow, those who are really in need don't get nothing as such. So also their currency goes down. The exchange rate is horrible. It's horrible because the system that was set has been wrong from the beginning. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Pray for this, like I said, pray for these leaders that are just coming up, for wisdom, for the fear of God, that they will do right for their people and give them that this life, that they could smile, they could go to school, they could do everything that God has given those resources for them to have. They could do them, they could have them. They could have everything else, just like everybody else in other countries. In France, they could live like people are living in France. What do you think? Haven't watched this. What do you think? What do you think? Because most of them are, oh, they're poor, they're corrupt, their African leaders are corrupt. Who were the corrupt leaders? When you hear some of these things, it's like, who is corrupting who? Please let me laugh. Who corrupt who? Anyway, thank you. Who is corrupting who? You made that decision. You made that decision. So I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself, trust in God, and know that He cares about you. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.